Hi guys, Johnny Drones here, and today I will be doing an unboxing and in-depth review of the new Foxeer Aero V3. The new Foxeer Aero V3 comes with some upgrades over its predecessor, the V2. The V2 has been everyone's favorite go-to camera in the FPV world for the past 7 or 8 months now. But will the V3's upgrades be enough to attract the new crowd? I think so. So let's go ahead and take an in-depth look at the brand new Foxeer Aero V3. Okay guys, here it is, and right off the bat I can tell you I just love the quality of the packaging. Really nice box, high gloss lettering all around, and I can tell you right off the bat it just looks like a very high-end product. So let's go and open it. And there it is. This is the Foxeer Aero V3. And you can tell I got the blue version. Now the camera does come in different color assortments now. They come in black, blue, orange, and silver. However, I think the blue is just a beautiful color and will go great with the drone that I'm building, that I'm putting it in. So let's go and take it apart. So take the camera out. I really like how they put this camera in there. Very well protected. Okay, so there's your camera. Okay, has a little lens cover on it to protect the lens from any scratches or anything. Okay, so put that aside for right now. We'll take a closer look at this later. Very nice little foam pad where the camera fits in. Again, some high gloss lettering on top of the foam pad. Okay, and beneath that you get your Foxeer Aero V3 manual. Okay, so a 600 TVL CCD mini FPV camera. And I have not looked at this. This is the first time I've opened this. So, yeah. So if you guys want to read this, I strongly suggest you guys read the manual before you start playing with it. So put that aside. Let's take a deeper look. Okay, so little thank you card from Foxeer. Beneath that, you get everything's really nice and packed in here, guys. I mean, they did a really great job putting this thing together. And it looks like the camera lens, camera cap protector for the lens. And looks like okay, so this is your mounting brackets with all the little screws that you guys need. And the mounting bracket does match the color of the camera, so that's very nice. Again, very nice, beautiful blue color. Very good shade of blue. I like that color a lot, guys. Very attractive color. Okay, and in here also is, this is the OSD remote. Okay, OSD remote and all the little cables you need to hook up to your quad or to whatever you guys are flying. I'm going to open this. Okay, so this is your OSD menu remote. Very responsive clicking, and I'll be going over be looking at a closer look at this and how it works and how to go through all the different menus here in a little bit. So I'll put that to the side. And this is your cables right here. It's all acrylic coated. Okay, so looks like this part here is what the remote connects to. Yep. So you plug this into the camera here, like this. And these here, which I want to be cutting these off, just some JST connectors. I'm going to be cutting these off and just soldering directly to my my PDB board. So I won't be using these. I'll be cutting these off. So that's about it as far as packaging. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the camera. Okay. Okay guys, so taking a closer look at the Foxeer Aero V3 camera, the first thing you notice right off the bat is the color on this thing. So the V3 is available in 4 different colors. You can get the black, blue, orange, or silver. I went ahead and got the blue because I just thought it was just a beautiful color. It's just a beautiful shade of blue. So yeah, it does come in 4 different colors now. Another thing you guys will notice is that the frame now on this thing is now metal, so that's going to be a huge advantage over the V1, the plastic frames on the V1s and V2s. It's just not going to crack like the plastic frames did. You know, it's going to be able to withstand those higher, those harder crashes, and it's going to be less prone to those vibration issues as well. So another big advantage with the metal frame is that now we're going to have metal threads as well. So unlike the plastic threads that were on the V1s, and I believe the V2s had some brass thread inserts. You know, I've read a lot of complaints online that in different forums and things that those threads over time would just start to wear out, because basically, guys, you had a metal screw going into some plastic threads or brass threads, and they would just over time would just wear out. So with these metal threads, you're just not going to have that issue unless you guys are going in sideways with the screw and you guys strip these threads or something. Other than that, you shouldn't have any issues. These threads should last the entire lifetime of this camera. So that's a huge plus that Foxeer did that. And guys, if you're like me and you're constantly taking apart your drone and rebuilding your drone, and you no longer have to worry about taking your camera out or or anything like that, and worry about messing up these threads, because that's just not going to happen with this new model. So again, huge plus. So again, looking on the sides, you'll see that the V3 comes with 3 mounting holes now, compared to the 2 mounting holes that were on the V1s and V2s. So that's going to make mounting your camera inside the frame a lot easier. You're going to be able to mount it further up or further down, whatever fits better in your frame or whatever you prefer. Another thing to mention is that the V3's dimensions have changed as well. So the V3 frame is going to be 1 millimeter narrower than the V2's. So the dimensions here are going to be 28 millimeters wide by 26 millimeters tall, compared to the V2, which was 29 millimeters wide by 26 millimeters tall. So this frame is indeed 1 millimeter narrower. And I believe Foxeer did that because they know frames are getting smaller, and people are going to want to go, people want to go smaller and lighter, faster. So they know frames are getting smaller. So they know this is definitely going to help fit into those smaller frames, those tighter spaces. So it's a good idea Foxeer did that, because they know the trend that's going on right now. So thank you, Foxeer. And another thing we can kind of look at here is, let's go ahead and look on the back side here, because I kind of want to show what this is. Camera focus in. So this is your inputs here. So you're going to have just one big hookup here on the back, and this is going to be your VCC, is going to be your voltage in. You're going to have your ground. This is your video out, audio out. Your OSD and ground, this is going to be for your remote, your OSD remote. And then your VSE in, that's going to be your voltage monitoring. So this camera is going to have, it's going to be OSD capable, and it's going to have voltage monitoring as well. So basically, this is your wire here. You're going to plug this in. And these 2 wires right here are going to be for your remote. So you just get your OSD remote. You plug that in there, and that's going to use to control your OSD menu. And I'll go over this in more detail here in a little bit. So how to use that OSD remote. Okay, so so they're calling, Foxeer is calling the V3 the HS1195s. So most of the people in the FPV community, they call, a lot of you hear a lot of people say the 1177s or the 1190s, things like that. Basically, that's the V1s, V2s, and V3s. So the V1s are going to be your HS1177. Your V2s are your HS1190, and the V3 is going to be your HS1195. So basically, your 1190 and 1195s, or your V2s and V3s, are going to have your OSD and your voltage monitoring. Okay, so I'm guessing the only difference between the 1190 and 1195 is that the 1195 now is going to be able to take it's going to have, it's going to have OSD and voltage monitoring just like the V2, but the big difference is that the 1195 or the V3, it can take more voltage input. So it can take anywhere between 5 volts and 40 volts compared to the V2, which can only take 5 volts to 35 volts. So they increased the voltage rating on this thing by 5 volts. So yeah, so you can connect this directly to your LiPo battery, and you can power it directly from your PDB board or your LiPo. So that's a big plus as well. So other than that, it's going to have the same chip. I believe it's the same. It's going to have the same CCD 1/3 inch Sony Super HAD2 CCD, the same one that's in the V2. I've heard some reports that the dynamic range on the V3 is going to be better. So again, I haven't used this camera, so only time will tell. So I'll report back on that once I start using this camera. But another thing to mention is that this camera does come with a 2.5mm lens. And I've heard some people ask me, what does that mean? Should I get a 2.6mm or a 2.8mm lens? Well, guys, to kind of explain that better, I'm going to go ahead and take this time right now. I'm going to cut away. I'm going to post a picture. I'm going to show a picture. I'm going to kind of explain what this number means. All right, so let me go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to cut away and explain this better. Okay, guys, so to kind of better explain what that number means, what the 2.5mm lens is or a 2.6mm lens is, basically that number represents the focal length. The focal length is measured in millimeters, and the lower that number is, the wider the viewing angle is going to be. So, for example, a 2.5mm lens is going to be wider, and it's going to look further away than a 2.8mm lens. And a 2.8mm lens is going to look wider and further away than a 6mm lens, and so on and so on. So the longer the focal length, the closer the objects will appear to be. So, you don't want too big of a focal length, things like that. So to kind of explain this better, I found this picture online, and this picture is taken from 123cctv.com. This is taken from their YouTube video. I'm going to go ahead and post a link to this YouTube video in the description below. And I strongly suggest you guys watch this. If you guys want more in-depth explanation of what it is and what focal length is and different lenses are, I strongly suggest you guys watch the video. They did a great job explaining what focal length is. So basically what they did is that they have a picture, a cutout of Ron Burgundy, and they're using the same camera here. It's the same camera, and it's set the same distance away in every one of these pictures. So the only thing that's changing is that they're just changing out the lenses with different focal lengths. So as you can see in the very top left picture, in the 8mm, you kind of have a wider view of Ron Burgundy, and when they switch it out to 12mm length focal length lens, it kind of zooms in further. So basically that's what it does. The higher the number, the more zoomed into your picture. So you're gonna be able to see a lot more detail of Ron Burgundy, and see you can kind of read the letters more that's hanging on them. But basically what's happening is you're zooming in on them, so you're going to see more detail, but you're losing a lot of that surrounding area. So you're not be able to see your environment as much. So the lower the number, the more you're going to be able to see your surrounding, but you're going to see less detail. So, that's why people who fly FPV, they like a lot lower number. They fly with 2.5 or 2.6 or 2.8mm lens, because you're going to be able to see more of your environment. Okay, so it's going to be a lot wider view. You're not going to be zoomed in on a specific object too much. So you're just going to have a wider view of your surroundings, and that's what you want when you're flying FPV. Okay, guys. So when you're racing around a course, you can be able to see what's around you, things like that. You don't really need too much detail on different objects, So what you really want is just a wider view. So basically, this is what that shows. So a lot of people ask me, what's better? Is a 2.5mm better, or 2.6 or 2.8? Well, guys, that's going to be, your preference. Whatever I suggest you guys try out, different lenses to see which one is good for you. To me, I think a 2.5 millimeter is the perfect medium between the different lenses. I think it's because it's going to be a lot wider than the 2.6 and 2.8. You're going to have a lot more view of your environment. So I think to me 2.5 is better. So to other people, 2.6 or 2.8 might be better. So I think the lens that this camera comes with is going to be a perfect lens. You guys should be very happy with it. We're going to be very happy with it, I think. So, and to me, it's just going to be a perfect lens for flying FPV. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to cut away from this. I'm going to take my drone apart. I'm going to install this camera into it. I'm going to power it up, and I'm going to show you how this camera looks. I'm going to hook it up to my screen, my FPV screen, and kind of show you guys how this camera looks and kind of give my thoughts about it. So, all right, so I'm going to do that now. All right, guys, I'm back. So I went ahead and installed the camera onto my quadcopter. Really easy install. Let me show you what I did real quick. This is the Micro Minim OSD. This is what I was using before for my on-screen display, and this thing is pretty tiny. I mean, this worked really well, but as you can see, it's still pretty big, and my quadcopter is pretty small. It's pretty tight inside. So the way I had this mounted, I actually had to mount it on the outside. And so it's kind of sticking out a little bit, so I had to use a couple of zip ties to kind of keep it from falling out and hitting the propellers and things like that. So so I went ahead and did away with this. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the on-screen display on the camera. So I've already played around with the OSD settings a little bit, and it's super easy, and it's really cool, guys. I really, really like it. Fully customizable. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to go through that and show you how that works. But real quick, I'm going to show you how I'll hook this up. So I'm using a Matek power distribution board. So the way this works is I hooked up this is your VCC, that's your power into the camera, and the ground. So those two wires hook up directly to my Matek power board right here. So you can see where it says camera, or you can barely see it, but it says camera. So there's a positive and negative right there, and then the yellow wire is your video in, and on the Matek it has a little space right here. It says camera, and it's basically where your video in goes into. And right next to that on the Matek, there's another little spot where it says for your VTX, and that's your video into your transmitter. So those two run in line. So basically, on the Matek, your video comes out of your camera, it runs into your board, and then it runs into your VTX and out through your VTX, and it transmits. So it's really easy to hook up. If you don't have this, you can actually just solder your two wires together, from your yellow wire from your video out wire from your camera to your VTX. That'll work also. Next thing I did was, I'm not using audio, so I took that one out, and I'll show you that. Hope that's not the wire here. I went ahead and just pulled that wire out. I'm not using audio. The OSD and your ground, that's for your OSD remote for this thing right here. I'll go through that in a little bit. I'll show you how that hooks up. And then this is your the VSEN is your voltage monitoring, and it's just a single wire. Some devices require a ground and a voltage wire, but here is just a single wire for your voltage monitoring. It's this purple wire that's right here, and basically you can just connect that anywhere on your power distribution board that's receiving the full voltage from your battery, from your LiPo. So that's about it. Really easy to hook up. Took me about 5 minutes to hook up. Very easy. So let me go and power this on and show you how this works. So I'm turning on my screen. Okay. And I got my OSD remote control hooked up. All you do is plug it in. Just like that. Okay. Then I'm going to power up my drone. And make sure to take off your propellers, guys, just in case you do anything weird. Just for safety reasons, make sure your propellers are off. And there it is. You can see it's powered up. Move my camera around a little bit. You can see it. There we go. Okay. And you can see, there it is. It's working. You can see I've already set it up, customized a little bit, but in the bottom left-hand corner is your, where it says Fox here. shows it automatically recognizes it's a 4S LiPo, and then your voltage, it shows your voltage right here, 15.1 volts, and that's spot on. I'm going to prove it to you here. I got a low voltage meter, and we can test that out, make sure how accurate that is. But that's pretty accurate, and it's in real time, guys. So once it starts draining or whatever, it's going to show, you know, it's going to start going down, and then your timer. And you can customize it. I put Biolan FPV. That's our chapter here that we have. So we're going to go to the settings. This is your little remote. And to access your settings, you can see here you're going to have an up, down, left, and right. And then in the middle is your menu. And this is also your OK button. So you click your menu button. And you're going to have your lens, exposure, white balance, backlight, day and night, DPC, special, reset, and exit. So to get to your characters and stuff like that, well, let me do this real quick. So your default settings, you're going to have FOXeer, you're going to have your voltage reading, and you're going to have your timer. So to move those things around, if you want to move your FOXeer things around, you just hold down your left button, and the FOXeer should start blinking. That means you can move it around. So you can move it around anywhere around the screen that you want. Someone just put it back to where it was. Once you have it where you want it, you just hit enter again, and it's going to stop blinking. There you go. If you want to move around your timer, things like that, same thing. You just hold down for your timer. It should start blinking. There you go. Okay, you can just move that around too. Okay, hit enter. All right, and then if you want to do your own custom lettering, you can do that too. So you can have your own custom name. So go to your settings. You can go to special. You can go to cam title. And make sure it's on. So you press left or right to turn it off or on. So you want it on. Once you have it on, you hit OK. And it takes you to the special menu to where you could change the letters. So I'll put Biolan FPV. And once you do all that, you just go to N. Return. Exit. And there you go. It says Biolan FPV. Okay, so here's what happened. I was playing around with this thing, and for some reason, it must have been a menu I went into on accident, and I hit something, but for some reason, these bottom things went away. The name, FOXeer, and the voltage monitoring, and the timer all went away, and I couldn't figure out what happened to it. I don't know what I did, but for some reason, they just went away. Or here's what you do to get that back, or if you want to customize that even more. This is a secret menu, guys. So what you do is you just hold up the up button, and then the secret menu appears. And here's where you can go ahead and change all the default stuff and turn off your timer, if you want to turn off your voltage, all that stuff. But so you can come in here and you can change the FOXeers to whatever you want to. Okay. And here's kind of the tricky part too. So if you want to change, let's say for some reason you do something wrong, right? Let's say you accidentally hit a letter. Well, I was trying to figure out for the longest where's the space, because I couldn't find any space around here, like the space button. So what do you do is, because if you just keep typing names, look, you can't change. You know, there's no space button. Well, there is after the 9. There's nothing behind the 9. So if you go to the 9. Right behind the 9 above the K, there's a little blank area. You just hit that, and that erases all the characters. Okay, so if you don't want anything there, if you don't want FOXeer, if you don't want a custom name, you can do that. Or you can just come down here to off. Where it says name, you can just say off. You hit that, to switch that on or off, you hit the menu button. Okay, so I want that on. I like the FOXeer. I think that's pretty cool. So, put that back on. Okay, Fox. Okay. You can turn your timer on or off. I'm going to leave mine on. If something happens, you want to go back to default, you can click on default. Alright, so I'm just going to exit. And there we go. So everything is there. So that's about it. Other than that, the camera looks really good. I'm surprised how good it is with the light right here. On my other camera I had, a little cheap camera, it would totally overexpose everything else. So I can already tell this camera's gonna be really good flying in the sun. So overall, the camera works great. I'm really happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go do a little flying, and I'm going to post that in here, and we'll see how this baby does in flight. Alright guys, here it is. So this is the first flight I performed with the new Foxeer Aero V3, and I tell you what, it just performed great, guys. As you can see, I performed this flight in the late afternoon, so this is around 4 p.m. and I'm talking about this is in the middle to late of February, so that means that the sun is at the horizon, and anybody that flies FPV knows that this is literally the worst time you can fly FPV, because that means that the sun is just going to be in your face at all times. So I am literally testing the limits of this camera, and it just went beyond all my expectations. So coming from a little cheap CMOS camera, going to this camera, it was just kind of like switching over to high definition. It was that great. I mean, you'll see here I'm going to do a little 360, and whenever it looks directly at the sun, it doesn't overexpose the skies. I can clearly see the rest of my surroundings, the rest of the environment. It just did really, really great. One thing I do want to talk about is that I did get IR block with this camera. So I highly recommend that you get IR block on this camera as well, as it will provide a more brighter picture during the day, and the colors in the picture will just appear more vivid and rich. This, however, will make flying at night a little bit harder, since it does make the picture more darker. So if you plan on flying at night more, I suggest you do not get the IR block. However, I think most people do most of their flying during the day and during good lighting conditions. So this is something that you should definitely think about. One more thing I want to talk about is the price point. So even with all these upgrades that the new V3 comes with, it does, however, come in at $1 cheaper than the V2. So, however, the only downside to getting the V3 right now is that it can only be bought from distributors in China. So at the current time that I'm recording this video, that means a longer wait time, but I believe once it starts to hit the US shelves, this camera will just be the new crave. So I highly recommend this camera. It did a really good job. So I do have a little bonus footage for you guys, and where I test out the black and white image sensor on this, or the night vision sensor on this. So I'm going to do that right now for you guys. Alright, so here I am demonstrating what I think is just the coolest feature that this camera has, and that's the night mode, or the black and white sensor mode. So so here I am, I'm in my house, okay, so I'm in my computer room, and you can see it, even during this low light condition in my room, it just picks up really good color. So I'm going to be heading down my hallway into my living room where I have all the lights off, and you'll see the camera kind of trying to get as much light in as it can. It'll switch to black and white mode right there. That's it, switching to the black and white mode. Just does it very, very smoothly. And this is me going into my kitchen, and again, zero visibility in here. I can't see a thing. So I'm surprised just how much light this camera lets in, and just really gives a good detailed picture. So I'm gonna go ahead and head back to the room, and don't worry about this right here. That's my diversity receiver. So heading back to the room, and you'll see it kick back to color mode, and again, just very smooth how it transitions between day and night mode. So I think anybody that flies at night is gonna be very happy with this camera, and even with the IR blocker, again, just gives very, very good color. Well, there you go, guys. That was my review of the new Foxeer Aero V3 camera. Again, thank you guys for watching. Now, I will be posting more videos in the near future, so please like and subscribe if you find this video interesting or informative. Also, please feel free to leave any questions or comments, and let me know if there was something I left out or something I could have done better, or maybe if you have a suggestion for a future video you would like for me to make. Again, thank you, and see you guys next time.